over. Republican candidate for state Senate, 10th District of Virginia. That is the Chesterfield, some parts of Richmond. This is for the receipt of the retiring Senator Watkins and Glen Sturtevant, school board member in Richmond, facing off with three other candidates. But the main competition is Democratic candidate Dan Gecker. And we have now predicted that Sturtevant is going to win this race based on a number of factors. Hey, Glenn, good to have you with us, man.
Hey, John. Good morning. How are you?
Okay, you're running. Everybody has told me you're running a great campaign, top to bottom, and I want to also compliment your campaign manager, Matt Brown. I think the guy's an up-and-comer, fabulous to work with. I sense a change in momentum in your district. Tell me if I'm right.
Yeah, well, I think, John, we have really had strong momentum for the past 10 months. We've talked before about the grassroots ground game that we have had, and I think it's unprecedented for a General Assembly race. My team and I, Matt Brown, my campaign manager, is doing a great job. My team and I, we've now reached nearly 65,000 households going door to door all winter, spring, summer, and now into the fall. And that, by and large, getting out, talking to voters has been, I think, one of the most important things for us keeping and gaining momentum throughout the race. We had 80 college kids from all around Virginia come into town on Saturday, and we knocked on 5,000 doors just on Saturday alone, and got up 100 yard signs around the district. So it is a broad-based movement, and we do have a lot of momentum. It's very good.
I can kind of feel the wave there. Now, the Democrats and your chief opponent, Dan Gecker. Dan's a good guy. I mean, he's very successful. He's an independent supervisor, so he's going to get a bigger vote in Chesterfield County than a normal Democrat would. But I think you're going to offset that in some other areas. But Dan's a good guy. But look, at your forum yesterday, let's talk about a couple of the issues where you and Dan had stark differences, and let's talk about energy and pipelines. Why don't we start there?
Yeah, that's a great point, John. I mean, we saw Mr. Gecker's very extreme views come out last night. He went far left, even of his own party. I mean, energy is an issue where we've got some very stark differences. Governor McAuliffe just said, I think last week, that the pipeline is and providing more natural gas to Virginia businesses is a game changer for our economy. And Mr. Gecker disagrees with that, doesn't want to see the pipeline, doesn't support the development of natural gas in Virginia. Senator Warner, Senator Kane both support offshore drilling in Virginia. And Mr. Gecker said he doesn't. And so I think last night we saw him really go hard left. And that's an important distinction in this race. My view is we need an all-of-the-above energy approach. We've got to develop our domestic energy portfolio because at the end of the day, energy means jobs in Virginia. When a business is looking to expand or to land in Virginia, one of the first questions that they ask is about access to natural gas. That's where Mr. Gecker and I disagree. I believe an all-of-the-above energy approach is going to help get our economy growing. Folks in the leaders of his party agree with that, and he doesn't.
Let's get to Medicaid expansion. You guys are on opposite ends of that. We've had this argument, ad nauseum, Glenn, but here's the bottom line. All right, whether you have Medicaid expansion or you don't have Medicaid expansion, I bring this up with everybody. We have a rural hospital dilemma in Virginia. Rural hospitals don't have enough money in order to survive. They're closing down, cutting jobs, cutting services. And so now people in certain parts of Virginia have to drive hours, basic services, because they don't have any money. I mean, it is what it is. These hospitals can't go on with no profit. So you don't want Medicaid expansion. Okay, understand that. I understand all the arguments. What's the alternative for these hospitals, Glenn?
Yeah, John, I mean, expanding Obamacare in Virginia through the expansion of Medicaid is simply unaffordable. It's the fastest growing part of the Virginia budget, now consumes 21% of our budget. JLARC just came out with a report last week that showed that Medicaid, as it stands now, grew by almost 80% over the last 10 years. And as it grows, it crowds out funding for other important things like education and transportation and public safety. At the end of the day, we've got to look to the private sector to find solutions, whether it's on healthcare or whether it's on creating jobs and growing the economy, rather than relying on government to do that. Now, I think that there are reforms to the Certificate of Public Need process where we inject free market principles into the process to create the conditions that more health care can be provided to more people. I think, we all agree on that. The problem is we can't do it in a way that's going to bankrupt us. We can't do it in a way that's going to run Virginia like Congress runs the federal government. We don't have unlimited money. We can't print money. We've got to live within our means. State government needs to live within its means. And so at the end of the day, expanding Obamacare in Virginia is a non-starter.
Okay, we understand that. So how are you going to help these hospitals?
Yeah, I think it's like I talked about. It's reforming the Certificate of Public Need process. It is taking the bureaucracy out of picking and choosing when and where healthcare providers can open, whether they can open. It's allowing the free market and the common sense principles of competition to help meet the demands that are there around the Commonwealth.
Glenn, you're a lawyer. Why do we need another lawyer in the state Senate? We've got like 50 of them. Why do we need another one?
Yeah, I think more importantly, John, I'm a dad. I'm a father with a young family. I know what it's like. Every day I got to get up and go to work to put food on the table. That's what I'm doing today after we finish up. And I'm the only person in this race that lives that on a day-to-day basis, where I got to get up and go to work and understand and am impacted by what the General Assembly does in my daily life. And so I think more importantly, we need somebody in the state Senate like me who gets it, who lives it on a daily basis, who understands that the policies and the laws that are passed by the General Assembly, how they impact us. And that's why I'm in this race, is to focus on keeping taxes low, get rid of burdensome regulations, to make it easier in Virginia to create jobs for small businesses and the private sector to grow and expand and create good-paying jobs. Let's get to Governor McAuliffe's edicts, executive orders, if you will, on gun ownership, going on his own. He's closing the campaign on guns. Do you support McAuliffe's executive orders on gun ownership restriction, and why or why not? Yeah, I would want to look at the evidence that he relied on for those orders. At the end of the day, John, we have a Second Amendment that protects the rights of law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms. At the same time, we have got to strictly enforce our gun laws, our state and federal gun laws, to make sure that people who are ineligible to have firearms aren't getting them, period. And that's one thing that we talked about in the forum last night. I will always fight to make sure that law enforcement and public safety have the resources that they need to get the job done. That's one thing my opponent has failed to do in his time in the Board of Supervisors, is cutting funding or not providing the resources that law enforcement needs to do their job. And these issues are tied up in mental health issues at the same time. We do need serious reform of the mental health system so that folks who have issues, that those don't turn into these tragedies that we are seeing. My heart breaks for the folks who have been impacted by these recent tragedies. it's personal for me too. You know, I mean, my younger brother John was living on campus, was an engineering student at Tech when Cho went on his rampage. My dad worked at the Washington Navy Yard and actually worked in the building that was shot up by the shooter a couple of years ago. So we got to focus on strictly enforcing our gun laws so that those who shouldn't have guns aren't getting them under the law. But, you know, we have a Second Amendment, and that protects the rights of law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms.
All right, we're out of time. We want to thank Glen Sturtevant for being with us.